Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
The Broncos got their first preseason win against the Indianapolis Colts, 34-30, but the score doesn't really matter. It's about what happened with the quarterbacks, and that's been the biggest talk of the day. And Bo Nix has been all over First Take, Good Morning Football. Everybody is talking about the Broncos rookie QB. And while some of us are calling for him to be the starters, guy next to me is not 100% there yet.
I called for him to be the starter in my column today. I was like, yeah, we've seen enough. Like this whole quarterback battle, it's been silly all along, but it should be over. There's no reason not to start Bo Nix. Now, all I pointed out was, look, it was encouraging. It was really encouraging.
It was fun to watch.
But let's not, start figuring out where on the facade at Empower Field we're going to be able to squeeze in, even though it's a short name, Bo Nix. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Okay, fair.
Right? I mean, I got Mark Schlereth this morning taking a victory lap. I said it's the most premature victory lap of all time. It's a preseason game,
Yes. The
Colts cared so little about that game. They played 5 quarterbacks, including Mr. Bean at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got to keep it a little context. Zach Wilson actually had just as good a numbers, if not better.
Totally agree.
So, we just need to remember it was a preseason game. But look, there was a lot of things to be encouraged by. There are still some things we need to see. Mm-hmm. We need to see him be able to throw the ball downfield. We need to be able to see him work the middle of the field other than just dump offs to Lucas Kroll in the 2-minute drill. That doesn't diminish or take away from the things he did well. Mm-hmm. But, I'm just not ready for 6.5 yards per pass attempt to be Hall of Fame worthy.
Do you remember a few weeks ago when I told you, though, that Sean Payton's offense was going to be really boring and it was going to be just quick checkdowns down the middle, going 6 yards? Yep. That's exactly what we're seeing, everybody. So we've seen all out of training camp, and it was boring, but at the exact same time, they were scoring. So it was fun to watch.
Right. No, I hear you. Now, I don't know that brand of offense is going to work that well in a regular season, right? When the other team is not playing guys that are going to be working at a T-Mobile store in a couple of weeks, when the defense actually game plans, when the defense blitzes, when they do things to try to stop it. Like vanilla works against vanilla, right?
So true.
I don't know that vanilla is going to work when you're doing something a little bit more complex. Maybe it will, and we'll see. And I hope it does. Like, I don't sit there watching the games and root against those things happening. I was fired up yesterday. I was excited. 34 points on the board. Yep. This is great, especially since, they didn't do anything in the first quarter. They really did that in 3 quarters of play. But I just, I've seen enough preseason games to know who shines in August isn't necessarily who shines in September.
Totally true. Let's go back to the first drive then when Jarrett Stidham obviously comes out. Everybody's like, this looks terrible. Not because of Jarrett Stidham, but because of the false starts or the taunting penalties. And we're going to get into that in just a quick second. But how undisciplined the Broncos offense was, did that leave any room of like, what are we doing, Sean? Like, you don't have enough control over your guys in these moments? Or is it's a preseason game, so like let them go out there and make stupid mistakes and then we critique and move on?
Look, I don't expect that they're going to be perfect first preseason game. They're going to have some of those things happen. Doesn't excuse them. It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
To some extent, you have to make mistakes so you can learn from them, right? If you go out there and you are flawless in the first preseason game, that almost isn't a good thing, right? There's no teaching moments. So I wasn't too concerned about it. If it had continued the entire game, that would have been problematic. If it would have even continued, because the first team offense was still in there with Bo, on those drives, that would have been an issue. It's a little bit like the fact that they, had 3 turnovers and fumbled again. So it could have been 4.
Yep.
That's not great. If it happens this week, if it happens the following week, like, okay, that's a bad pattern.
Yes.
I'm going to chalk that up more to, hey, it's the first time you've actually been hit, right? Like Lucas Kroll, he hasn't been tackled at camp.
Yep.
So it's just a different thing. And you have to get used to it. There's no way to simulate it. So, again, not giving a free pass for things that are unacceptable, but I'm not going to hit the panic button in preseason over that.
Okay. Soft call or nah? Tim Patrick's taunting call.
It was a completely soft call.
I agree. I'm like, the guy was so happy to just get back out there.
We don't know what he said.
Fair.
Right? So there are certain words that if you say them, you're definitely going to get a penalty.
Yep.
Maybe he did. And even if he did, I think it's soft. It's not the referee's responsibility, though, to know that Tim Patrick's been out the last 2 years
Totally
and he
agree.
gets to live by a different set of rules than everybody else. Like, no, that's not the way it goes. But based on what we could see, it was pretty soft.
I'm totally with you. I was like, really? This is the call of like, this guy's finally just happy to be back out there. And then you get a flag on that. But Cortland Sutton jumping off sides. It's like, come on, Court. What are we doing here?
That's a bad one.
Oh, terrible.
Mike McGlinchey.
Like McFlinchy. Let's just call it what it is.
Now he was all over Jarrett Stidham for that.
Yeah.
He was blaming the quarterback based on the interaction they were having.
Yep.
Which again, it's the first time they've been out there. How you do your cadence at practice is different than how you do it in a game. Like
100%.
You're amped up, right? There's a crowd. It's just a different environment. So that takes some getting used to. If we see that
time and time again,
if we see it against the Cardinals, it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
But no, there were not a lot of things offensively that I was worried about. They do need to throw the ball downfield more.
Yep.
There were really 3 plays that had a chance, right? There was the one that Josh Reynolds, did he drop it? Was it a little overthrown? Debatable, but it was into the end zone. It's like, you got to make that play.
Yep. I thought he should have caught it.
In the NFL. There was the play. Zach Wilson had one right down the seam that he just threw a little bit behind that should have been a touchdown.
Yep.
That's the throw that he can make that maybe the other guys shouldn't. So he has to make it if he wants to, earn a spot on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was early. It might have even been his first pass, but the Bo Nix throw that got Dulcich just drilled.
I know.
Can't make that throw.
Yep.
Can't make that throw. I don't believe Dulcich came back in the game after that. He got
I guess I didn't.
Dinged pretty good. So, and those were the 3 times they really tried to stretch the field.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're not going to be able to dink and dunk your way to 34 points in a regular season game. You're just not.
Okay.
That's not being a wet blanket. That's not being negative.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation.
It was so interesting to watch all of Twitter explode about excitement with Bo Nix. And then you also see the people like yourself included who are like, this is one preseason game, right? But there's these it's like a battle of well, you're not excited and you're overexcited, and there's no happy medium right now when it comes to Broncos country.
I think I'm handling
people think you're the negative Nancy.
I think I'm handling it perfectly. I'm very encouraged. I'm excited.
Yes.
But it's a step. It's a step in the process. I mean, Mark Schlereth acts like he's been at sea for 2 years. He just got into port, and the first girl he sees is Kate Beckinsale. Like, come on. Let's pace ourselves.
Every single time you come on the show, you talk about Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, that's not good. I need a new reference. Apparently, that's my point of reference.
It's so funny. Every single time, it's like there's some connection that you have.
There are worse things to be obsessed with, right?
Oh, fair enough. Okay, Samaje Perine, we got to talk about him. Obviously, he had the bobble results in the fumble or the interception, yada, yada, yada. Has he lost his spot on the 53?
I think so.
I think so, too.
He was the worst running back, and it was not even close yesterday.
I know.
And
that's been that way in training camp, and Audric Estime has just come up and shined. It's like, I think his time in the orange and blue is donezo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he brings to the table that they don't have other guys that can do. And
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you're going to go young, go young.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Tyler Beatty had the best run of the day. His touchdown run, he got to the pylon at a different speed than other backs do. It was a little bit like Jaleel last year, where it was like, whoa, okay.
Look at you.
He hit that hole a little bit better than everybody else. So would you keep Perine over him? I wouldn't.
No.
I don't know why they would.
How old is Samaje? Let's just look this.
I bet he's, I was going to say late 20s. It's just, he's a good player. He's just, he's a journeyman running back at this point. He's a career backup.
Yep.
What will factor into it is how much does the backup running backs, how much do they play special teams?
Yep.
And, I don't know. I wasn't charting who was out there on kickoffs yesterday, but that will probably be a deciding factor.
What do you think of the special teams? Is it going to take a minute to get used to?
I like the new kickoff.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's
from the safety perspective, or from watching?
No, it makes the play interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, 80% of kickoffs were touchbacks. Like, why even do it?
Yeah, true.
Just set the ball to 25 and let's go.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have a kickoff, it's like changing the extra point, right? Like the extra point now is worth watching because they could miss it.
Oh yeah.
You see quite a few of them. Before it was a 99.9% kick. Like, what's the point of doing that?
Fair.
So I most of the kickoffs yesterday were brought out. There was not brought out. There was a return.
Yep.
I heard Sean Payton talking about how, there's some strategy to it. And he was thinking late in the game when we're up, I probably should have just had him kick it in the end zone and take the touchback, give him the ball to 30. That's better than, risking a return because I think the Colts ran the last one out to like the 45.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some strategy involved with that play. I think it's great.
Can we also talk about Sean Payton kicking the field goal when Bo Nix is running down the field? I'm like, this is a meaningless game, and we're gonna have Will Lutz go out there and practice it. It was like a
27-yard field goal.
Yeah, I was like, this
with
is
8
ridiculous.
seconds to go.
Yeah, run the extra
The clock is stopped. Run a play.
Thank you.
And you know what? If you run a play and you end up burning the clock and, we didn't get points on the board, who cares?
Yes, you would see what Bo Nix could do with 8 seconds left if you have to score.
Correct. Again, it's something to learn from. What did you learn from a 27-yard field goal?
Literally nothing.
If there were 2 seconds left, fine. Kick it, take the points. You're trying to win the game. I do like the fact that the Broncos care about the result. Like if they're keeping score, if they turn on the scoreboard, we're trying to win.
Yep.
That's a mindset. That's an attitude. If you compare it to Nathaniel Hackett 2 years ago up in Buffalo, that debacle.
How could we forget?
That set a tone too.
Yes.
So I like that. You're either a competitor or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's establishing sort of that mentality with the team.
But also be aggressive. You have your rookie QB out there. You're doing the 2-minute, just go for the touchdown.
I could not agree more. See what he can do in that situation.
Exactly.
If he makes a mistake, great. You can learn from it.
Yeah.
If he throws it in the end zone and gets another touchdown, we'd be doing even more cartwheels today. So, yeah, I thought that was a miss. But no, I mean, I thought overall their operation was good.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton seemed to be in total command of what was going on.
Okay.
So I was happy with the first preseason game.
Is there anybody that you looked at and you were like, stud? There's one guy, James.
Stud, huh?
Stud.
You're going to say Alex Singleton.
No, but holy crap, the broadcast could not be like, he was over here. He was over here. I'm like, isn't that his job?
He did play well. He made, he made a nice stop, in the backfield.
Yeah.
Or, behind the line of scrimmage, which was great. That's always been my Alex Singleton criticism. It's like, yeah, you make a lot of tackles, but if they're 9 yards downfield, who cares? That was encouraging. No, nobody jumped out at me as like, oh my gosh, he's a stud.
Same guy in camp who's been great.
Devon Vele?
Yes.
Which plays?
I don't remember which. I don't remember. They were probably 40
I think he
yards.
drew the interference penalty.
Yes.
The long interference penalty.
So
that was one where they tried to stretch the field.
Yep.
That was good.
He's just a stud. You just watch him on everything that he does, and he's quick and he's fast and his feet. I'm just like, yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
And a guy that nobody was really talking about, and here he is, and he looks good.
I was happy for Marvin Mims. He's had kind of a quiet camp.
He's been frustrated. We've seen him get really frustrated at camp, yelling at people, tossing his helmet, tossing the ball. So it was good to see him finally get a touchdown.
Has the Troy Franklin hype train died?
I think so. But I think people were expecting Troy Franklin and Bo Nix to be so connected because of their time at college. Yeah. And when it didn't come out that way, I think people were like, well, what's going on a little bit? Yeah, I feel like it's kind of died off. But I think it's just, they're not going to get rid of him, obviously. They drafted him, so he's going to stay on the roster.
I don't know. Cortland, Tim, Marvin.
Dude, I just don't know if Tim Patrick does make a spot.
I think the fact that he caught a pass on the opening drive, it's like, okay, you got a chance to see, here's what it looks like with Cortland and Tim on the field together.
Yeah. But he's got to be fast, and he's just not fast.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think this Sunday is a big game for Tim Patrick.
Totally agree.
And it'll be interesting to see if he doesn't play in the third game, he's making the team.
Mm-hmm.
If he does play, he's battling for a job and he's got to go out and shine. So that'll be interesting to see who's on the field in that game. Because you remember last year, they sat everybody. They won 41-0. Alberto had this huge game and then got cut.
Yeah.
So it's pretty meaningless.
Well, we were all on the waiting to see if Alberto was going to get cut.
And you're right. It turned into a trade.
Yeah.
To the Eagles, but it was first announced as a cut. So.
Alberto, what a guy! I'm glad we're done with that season of football.
Yeah. No, and it was very encouraging.
Yep.
I do think though the Broncos treated it like a playoff game. And the Colts treated it like Nathaniel Hackett treated preseason.
Totally agree.
That's why I think it kind of went the way it did.
Mm-hmm. So you're not saying the Broncos?
I'm not changing my win total prediction.
How many did you have?
6.
Okay.
I think they're a 6-11 team.
I've jumped up to 8.
8?
Yeah, I've jumped up to 8.
Okay.
But they have to come out hot. And I think last year they learned so much because they jumped out slow that Sean Payton will be like, I will die on my deathbed before we do that again. So if they jump out really hot, I think that they can possibly win 8. In November, I don't know if they win a single game. Besides
3 of their first 4 games are on the road. That makes it tough to jump out to a good start.
For sure. You have to win against Russ. Which who knows if Russ is even going to play.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge bummer.
And look, all 4 of those teams, I mean, the Steelers are a perennial contender playoff team, but the other ones are peripheral playoff teams, right? The Seahawks could stink this year.
Yeah.
They could be 9-8.
So you think I can book my ticket to Seattle yet?
Probably. Bo's going to start.
I think so too.
I mean, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to win the NFC South, so I guess they're technically a contender, but.
And Baker's proven that he can do it.
And what are the Jets going to be? I don't know. I think if Aaron Rodgers is there, they're going to be good, but we don't have any idea.
Yeah.
So
how weird for Zach Wilson to go back up there.
I thought Zach Wilson looked good yesterday.
He did. But he was also playing against.
He gets such an unfair. Everybody just
rips him at practice. String.
Well, Bo's playing against second string.
Well, still, who knows if Zach would have looked that good against the second string?
Oh my gosh, it's just so funny how I don't think you can have it both ways. I don't think you can say these numbers mean this guy's great and these numbers are meaningless.
No, but you've seen Zach out at training camp and it has been a rough go.
I was there on Thursday. He threw 3 deep balls for touchdowns. I'm like, that's the 3 best throws anybody's had.
He does have some speed on his ball.
He's the best.
And he can get it out.
He's the most talented quarterback of the bunch.
That's probably true.
Bo,
who do we think wins in a race though? Because Bo looked fast.
Bo moves a little bit better.
Yeah,
he does.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm already ready for Sunday though.
Me too.
A little night game
it's something
action
to build on. That's why I say it's encouraging because now you want to see more, and it's something to build on. Right?
I was like slightly disappointed. Well, first of all, there were so many people who I was saying, I'm like, Bo's gonna play into the half and then come out. Like that's what they want to see out of him. And people are like, no, they're not. I'm like, they're not gonna play Zach Wilson for an entire half. Like, what are we talking about?
I would on Sunday against the Packers, if it was me, I would play Bo Nix in the first half, Zach Wilson in the second half. I don't need to see Jarrett Stidham again. Saw him 2 games last year at the end of the regular season. We saw
who's backup right now in your eyes?
Zach Wilson.
Really?
And here's my logic. Let's say you start Bo at the beginning of the year. Heaven forbid he gets hurt after 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's done for the year. What would be the point of 9 games of mediocrity with Jarrett Stidham? At least you'd have 9 games to see, hey, can we have the reclamation project of Zach Wilson? Maybe you turn him into something you could trade. Maybe.
But if he goes out there and sucks, don't you think his confidence just goes lower and lower and lower? And you are taking it back.
So what? Then you move on from him next year and you find a new backup quarterback. Like, I want the guy with upside. I don't want a guy whose ceiling is like, I got a, it's
forever
a 7-foot ceiling. Give me the cathedral ceiling. That's what I want.
But as a backup.
I think Zach Wilson could start in this league. I really do.
Yeah,
I think he could start here.
You just drafted a guy at 12, so you're going to go with that kid to start. So, like, why do you need another starter? I'm not calling him a starter. James is calling him a starter. I want to make that clear. Why don't you just have the guy who's good in the locker room and can be, the backup cheery? Let's go, everybody. High five.
Because I don't want a guy that's mediocre. I don't. I don't. I have no interest in that.
Zach, we will see on Sunday. I hope
for the fences.
You're right.
You might strike out. You might hit a home run.
I hope you're right that we'll see him for an entire half. Bunts. Oh gosh. Okay, last one. Uniforms. I did not like them at first. They're growing on me.
I loved them. I loved them the day they introduced them.
See,
I thought they were fantastic yesterday. I think they look great on the field.
I still think the navy blue is my least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see all of them in person or not in person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different when they're standing in a conference room versus when there are 11 guys out on the field together.
Yeah.
I thought they looked great. I think they're sharp.
I was actually, watched them run out and I was like, dang, Broncos, this does look good. Fiery.
It's a good look. It's a good
trend.
Look.
You going to be buying one? The throwbacks
Who do you
are
buy?
sick.
Who do you buy? What's the good investment? Bo?
See, I'm like a cheater in a little bit because I would just probably go get like a Champ Bailey one, but with the new.
Oh, well, you can't go.
If I had to pick a player on this Denver Broncos team
with a retired player.
I know. If I had to pick a Denver Broncos player on this team, I would pick.
There's not a good investment. Pat Surtain's your best player, and are you sure he's here in a year?
No.
Me either.
I actually don't know who I would pick.
There you go.
To spend the money.
A team that you can't think of a guy you'd buy the jersey you think is going to win 8 games.
Well, because I like to be unique. I mean, the easy one is Bo Nix, but you already said that. So I'm like trying to think of somebody else.
Quinn Miners is the only other good investment.
I will not find a Quinn Miners.
Who's wearing a 77 jersey?
Yeah.
It's not Alzado or Mecklenburg.
You're not betting on Court because he may not be here.
Right.
Tim Patrick may not be here. I'm literally like racking my brain at the entire roster.
There's not another good answer. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Javonte? We don't know.
DJ Jones. There you go.
93. That's what we're doing.
Sure. If the Broncos win 8 games, James is going to buy me a DJ Jones Broncos jersey.
By the way, Sunday, you said it's a night game. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do you want to bet coffee that there's a lightning delay? I'm taking yes. There will be lightning somewhere in the metro area, and it'll be blue skies, and we'll all have to wait.
Are you going to the game?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Fun stuff.
Lightning delay. You watch.
Coffee bet. Actually, I think you still owe me coffee, don't you?
What? That was the terrible handshake, by the way, because of the... There we go.
We can do a proper handshake. All right. Well, we'll see. James owing me coffee next Monday. We will find out. To all of you guys, thank you so much. Broncos football finally back. Preseason game number 1 in the books. James, as always, a pleasure. And to all of you guys, we will see you later. Bye.